Shalom, Israel. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom, everybody online. Yahweh Bashimi Habashai brought the thumb to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. Another Sabbath service, giving our honor, of course, our honor and glory to Yahweh Bashimi Habashai. Double honors to the elect elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting for the second coming of Yahushua. A hearty shalom to you mighty men that walk in the highways and byways to risk your life and push this truth and magnify the ministry. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there on the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying. They're fasting. They're studying. They're being diligent and abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom to all of the Akwak out there, the sincere sisters out there that are married and unmarried, holding it down in the households, reverencing their husbands, being submissive, being diligent, studying, and moving in the spirit of our righteous foremothers.
Shabbat Shalom, all praise to the Most High for another Sabbath, another day of repentance. Right, the Lord has granted us another week. Right, so with that being said, we got to go 10 times harder. We got to be more diligent. Right, showing the fruits of the Spirit. Right, as we always do, we're going to go to Acts chapter 18, verse 4.
Acts chapter 18 and verse number 4. And he reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath and persuaded the Jews and the Greeks.
Right, another Sabbath service to persuade Israel, who knows that they're Israel, to keep the laws, statutes, and commandments, keep the faith, the brotherly love, the charity, all things holy and acceptable in the sight of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. To those just finding out that they're Israel, to compel you to be in the church of Berea, come back to the scriptures, come back to your heritage, and serve your God wholeheartedly. And the only way you can do that is through Philippians chapter 4, verse 13.
Philippians chapter 4 and verse 13. I can do all things through Hamashiach, which strengtheneth me.
Right, so through the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, we're able to go into the scriptures, get the proper understanding by going precept upon precept, right, meditate on the scriptures, right, and cast down all false doctrine, right? And that's important these last days because false doctrine is tripping up a lot of brothers in this truth.
Right.
Right, I seen a post that a brother said that he was the Lord, right? He said, should I just kill you right now for all these questions? Right? It's false doctrine and all this madness happening in these last days, man. That's why you need the Lord, man. The Lord to keep you rooted and grounded. You can understand the simplicity of Yahushua, right? Oh, there we go. Hey, go ahead and bring that. This is the brother right here, man.
He said that he's the Lord. He said you had your chance to listen to him, but now it's...
He said, now his name is Jules Christo, right? Now his name is Jules Christo. You can look him up on your own, right? I actually reached out to him, said he want to get on the Monday Night Flyer, right? Let's have a conversation. See that? So he said that he's the Lord, man. So you don't have to wait anymore, brothers. All your fasting prayed off, all your prayer, all your endurance are paid off, because now you have, he's here for you, right? And the Lord.
Yeah, this is folly and madness, right? But somebody asked, I saw this was the first question. The brother Mathamika is reading the questions. So, but I saw this question first. I'm from Cleveland. Where is the school located? Right, the brothers are down there at Tower City Center at 2 p.m. Right, you can't miss them. Right, so if you're in the Cleveland, Ohio area, head down there to go congregate with the brothers. We got the camp in Atlanta. They're at Little 5 Points today, I believe. I believe so.
What time was that?
That question, it don't say. And then we got the camp in Orlando. You got the information for that.
Yeah, they're teaching Lake Eola, right downtown, right in front of the monument, right? So that's what they're teaching, Lake Eola downtown. Pittsburgh, Liberty Avenue, right? I believe 700 Liberty Avenue, if I'm not mistaken. If you're in Philly, Jersey, 10th and Market, downtown Philly, Baltimore in the harbor, Chicago, they're teaching in front of the beam between Washington and Michigan Avenue. There's so many locations, man. Right, but if you are looking for a particular group to congregate with, the WFI congregation, reach out to us. We can give you the time, address, when they're out there, what to expect them, high holy days, feast days, and everything you need to prosper. Detroit, right? They split the camp up into 3 parts, right? They teach the campus marshes, the Riverwalk, and the Rosa Park Transit Center, if I'm not mistaken. Those are the 3 locations for the massive WFI Detroit camp.
My brother also asked, how do I join the camp?
If you want to know how to join the congregation, reach out to myself or Amos, as well as the Instagram, the WFI Instagram, or via email, and we'll be able to get you that information that you need. So let's dive into these questions, right? So let's go to 1 Peter 3:15 first, right? WFI Sabbath Service Q&A part 2. A lot of questions didn't get answered. A lot of people got mad. You didn't answer the questions. Right? Well, our job is to go into it, man. Let's do another Q&A because your question can edify somebody else. Right? Let's get that.
1 Peter chapter 3, verse 15. But sanctify the Lord God in your hearts, and be ready always.
Not just sometimes.
And be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh you a reason of the hope that is in you, with meekness and fear.
The Lord said, as his servants, we should always be ready to give an answer. Always, with a book, a chapter, a verse, and then another verse, and another verse. Precept upon precept, man. Right? Every servant of the Lord should be ready to give an answer. You can't say, well, I'll get back to you next year. Let me fast 4 days on it. No, you got to be ready instantly at the drop of a dime to be able to feed the flock, man. You know, you always have to have food prepared and ready. So let's dive into these questions so we don't hinder time.
The first questions come from Yehudi Shigal. She asks, Yehudi Shigal asks, what day is the Day of Atonement?
Let's go to Leviticus 23. Right? We go Leviticus 23. We can start at 19.
26.
Yeah, we're going to go through the whole 7th month.
This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 23, and verse number 19. It reads, then ye shall sacrifice one kind of goat.
Go to verse 23. We can start at 23.
Leviticus 23 and verse number 23. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, in the first day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, a holy convocation.
Right, so the first day of the 7th month, which is next Monday, right? September 6th, I believe. Let me pull it up so I'm not misquoting it. Right, it should be September 6th. Yep, September 6th at sundown is the memorial blowing of the trumpet. That's the beginning of your 7th month, right? That would be like your top new moon, right? Memorial blowing of the trumpets. Right, go ahead and keep going.
Reading on, verse number 25. Ye shall do no servile work therein.
Right, it's a new moon, so there's no servile work, man. We just congregate and feast, and you shouldn't be working that day. If you can get off, take off, right?
But ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, also on the 10th day of this month, 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement.
Right, so the 10th day of the 7th month, right? So that will be September 15th at sundown, right? September 15th at sundown, right? In the Conca channel, the brother went into how to keep the high holy days, right? So he went into how to keep the Day of Atonement. And Lord willing, this Day of Atonement, the 15th sundown through the 16th sundown, we're trying to do 24 hours of live stream to edify Israel while they're fasting, right? So you don't have any idle time while you're fasting. Satan can't hop on you because you're going to be occupied in the Word, right? So if you have an opportunity to watch 2 hours, 5 hours, 12 hours, tune in, right? Because we're doing it for the edification of the saints. Right, go ahead, keep going, King.
It shall be a holy convocation unto you.
Right, it's a holy convocation. You should get together with brothers and sisters who are like-minded, who are fasted to get their sins off, man. You don't want to be an individual like during these high holy days.
And ye shall afflict your souls.
God, afflict your soul, man. Right? So no, it's not a feast day. Right? It's listed in the high holy day. So no eating, no drinking, no snacking, no popping mints. Right? Don't do this on the Day of Atonement, man. Because what's going to happen? Brushing your teeth, no taking a shower, letting the water run into your mouth. Right? I know how Israel get down, man. Israel crafty, man. Right? Take a hot and cold shower, man, so you can get a little bit of thirst on your tongue. Yeah. Go ahead, keep going, King.
And offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord.
Right.
And ye shall do no work in that same day.
Right. So you must take off for the Day of Atonement, man. It ain't no ifs, ands, or buts. You must take off for the Day of Atonement. Understand we in captivity, man, but you better figure being sick. Right. You shall not do any work on this day. Right.
For it is a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before the Lord your God.
Right. You making amends before the Lord for all the wrong that you've done throughout that whole year. And every day you wake up, you fall short of the glory. So you must do this Day of Atonement, man. You have to do this. And what happens if you don't do it?
For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in the same day, he shall be cut off from among his people.
You're going to die in the land of the living, man. Right. The Lord is going to cut you down. Right. He may take your candlestick. He may get you in a car accident. Right. You never know what can happen, man. Right. And that's the fear of the Lord. You got to be scared for not keeping these high holy days, right?
Verse 29, verse 30, Salakia. And whatsoever soul it be that doeth any work in the same day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people.
Right? So any souls that do not afflict themselves in the Day of Atonement, they're going to be cut off from among their people. Right? So don't get it misconstrued with these false doctrines that you should eat on the Day of Atonement because it's listed in the feast day. Right? You're going to be cast down.
Yeah, that's a doctrine in Israel, man. They go to Leviticus 23 and they say, well, who's bringing the mashed potatoes? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? Why are these guys fasting is going on? Brothers are teaching that's a heavy thing in Israel now. To throw a massive feast for the Day of Atonement because it's listed amongst the feast days. Now, it was listed amongst the feast days, but that doesn't mean you can actually eat on this day, man. You understand? There are every high holy day has a particular amount of statutes that go with it. And if you're not fasting on that day, you're going to be destroyed, man. It's not an if, and, or but. I just want to work 5 hours and I'll leave early. You're going to die, man. You want a damn forklift, the forklift explode, man. You know, somebody come and rob the store you're working in and shoot you. The most High can have anything happen to you, man. Just because you decided to get some more so-called money from the nasty, creepy white man instead of serving the Lord, man. So you have to keep it there, Atonement. And we do videos on how to fast, right? There's plenty of videos on Cold Cut Channel Tech on how do I fast, and we go into how to fast. And we'll even cover that most of our women when we do the marathon class for the Day of Atonement.
Now, then you got Isaiah 58 and verse 3 that shows you that fasting is afflicting your soul. Right? People may say afflicting your soul is crying, right? Denying yourself from watching TV. On the Day of Atonement, you shouldn't even think about TV. Right? No TV should be playing in your house. No Israelite music, nothing, man. Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that ceases on the Day of Atonement. This is an important high holy day, man. You're making an atonement for your sins, man. Imagine if somebody did you wrong and they half-ass apologize. You're gonna be like, I don't want to hear that. That's the same way you gotta look at it when you atoning to the Lord.
Isaiah 58, verse 3. Wherefore have we fasted, say they, and thou seest not? Wherefore have we afflicted our soul, and thou takest no knowledge?
Right? That's showing you that fasting is afflicting your soul, because you putting a burden on your body, man. Not eating and not drinking is tough. Right? It brings hardship upon you, man. You start to wither away if you do it for days on end. Right? So the Day of Atonement, the 15th at sundown. Right? So we go to the next question.
The next question comes from Amaziah Yahawada. He asks, can you give understanding to Revelation 20 and 5? Who are the rest of the dead, and what is the 1,000 years?
All right, let's go to Revelation chapter 20 and 5. We're going to start at 1, right, to give you the overall context. Let's go to Revelation chapter 20 and 1. Who are the rest of the dead and the 1,000 years?
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 20 and verse 1. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand.
Right now, the angel that has a key in his bottomless pit, for the bottomless pit, is going to go into the power structure of the so-called white man being shut down for 1,000 years. We're going to read that.
Verse 2. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years.
That's not talking about the spiritual demon Satan. The spiritual demon Satan does nothing wrong in the eyes of the Lord. He does everything perfectly for the Most High. Very obedient, always on fire, never slothful. He don't take days off. So why would the Lord have to punish the spiritual demon Satan, man? When he answers to the Most High. So who is this Satan, this dragon and the old serpent? And speaking about the so-called white man. He's the dragon according to the Bible. All right, let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 44, verse 18. To show that he's the dragon. The old serpent, he has that same spirit from the serpent during the time of Genesis, the 2nd and 3rd chapter. The exact same beguiling, serpentine, deceiving, wicked, evil spirit. So let's read that.
Psalm chapter 44, verse 18. Our heart is not turned back, neither have our steps declined from thy way. Though thou hast sore broken us in thy place of dragons.
The Lord called America the place of dragons. This is the place of dragons. We've been broken down. Mentally, spiritually, go on.
Reading on, in the place of dragons, and covered us with the shadow of death.
This is David. Did David say, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death? He wasn't your auntie and your great grandmother who got that prayer. They didn't know that David was speaking about Babylon the Great. This is the valley of the shadow of death, right? This is the land of iniquity and the land of dragons, violent beasts. Go on.
It reads, verse 20, if we have forgotten the name
Let's go to that. Let's go to Revelation 13 and 11. Let's get one more precept to show that this dragon is the so-called white man. This old serpent called the devil, and the word devil means deceiving. Right? He's the physical counterpart of the spiritual demon Satan. Right? Bring it up.
Revelation chapter 13, verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth.
Yeah, this is America coming into power. Go on.
And he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon.
Right, go on.
And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him.
So this dragon has 2, or this nation, this beast, has 2 horns like a lamb, but he speaks as a dragon, right? Meaning what? America pretends and comes off as if they're a peaceable country, as if you're a lamb. A lamb is an animal, it's non-violent. Nobody's scared of a lamb. They don't bite people. They don't chase you down, right? They don't hunt you down. You don't expect a lamb to harm you. So America comes off with the power or the facade of being a lamb-like country. Their democracy, right? The other people in America believe that America has never done anything wrong ever. Right? God we trust, Lady Liberty, land of the free, home of the brave. Right? Whenever there's a war in America, they intervene. We're going to get rid of the weapons of mass destruction. We're going to save the earth. We don't want them to have these missiles to kill people. Right? But they're the ones funding all of the people, man. Giving them billions of dollars of ammunition, artillery, tanks, warfare, pushing homosexuality, lies, right? Putting the New World Order out there. So they have 2 horns like a lamb, and the horn represents what? What does the horn represent? Power, strength. So the strength of America, their 2 horns is what? Their religion and their politics. That's how they take you down. That's how they rock you to sleep. But Christianity, God loves everybody, and voting, right? And anything that comes with politics. But he really speaks as a what? Read it again. He had 2 horns like a lamb, but he what?
So lucky. 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon.
But he really speaks like a dragon. Because they're really violent. They're not really a God-fearing country. Everybody knows that, man. Even Edomites are making videos about America, giving you because they won't believe us. I believe you guys. You guys are conspiracy nuts. Why are Edomites coming out and even telling you that America has done all types of sins and madness on the earth, man? Their own people are telling you that. So America's the dragon. But let's go back to Revelation chapter 20. And he was bound up for 1,000 years. Let's read that again, Revelation 20 and 2.
Revelation 20 and 2, and it reads, and he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil, and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years.
Bound him, meaning put him out of his power seat, right? When the Romans fell and you had the Dark Ages, that was the beginning of the 1,000 years. All right, the Roman Empire, pagan Rome, or the Western Roman Empire fell and 476 AD, right? And that was the beginning of the so-called white man's power structure being taken away. Then he came back into power during what period? The Renaissance, right? Real quick, let's go to Revelation chapter 12. Now, we're not going to really go in depth, but let's just read Revelation chapter 12 and verse, actually, it's like Revelation 13 and 3.
Revelation 13 and 3. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast.
So this is talking about the Roman Empire. Their deadly wound was healed. They came back during the Renaissance. All of these different countries that you see that came out during the Renaissance, Spain, Portugal, France, England, they were all part of ancient Rome. Those were different provinces in ancient Rome. But they were formerly known as Hispania, Gaul, Germania, and they carried all these different titles. Right? So this is the land who came back into power after 1,000 years. So let's go back to Revelation 20. We don't have to, and then we can do in-depth breakdowns on it another day, but we want to get to all these questions. Let's just read on the 3.
Revelation 20 and 3. And cast him into the bottomless pit.
Right, that's Europe.
And shut him up, and had and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loosed a little season.
Now, the secret of Revelation chapter 20 is that it jumps in and out, right? It jumps in and out of time. If you read it straight through like that, you'll be confused. So when you read Revelation, I'm going to tell you this. When you read Revelation chapter 20, 1 through 3, it picks back up in verse 7, right? That's how it works. You have two different accounts going on. You have an account of the ancient time, and you have a prophecy coming to pass, a deeper prophecy. But if you read it straight through, that's why people believe that will be in the kingdom for 1,000 years, and after that, the Lord has to destroy the nations again. Right? But that's not what it's talking about. Let's read on.
Verse number 4. And I saw thrones.
Now I was shifting gears. This has nothing to do with 1 through 3, right? And I saw thrones.
And they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua.
That were what?
That were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua.
A certain man may be beheaded, huh?
That's right. That's right.
For speaking his truth. Go on.
And for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Hamashiach 1,000 years.
And that's 1,000 years, meaning how long? Is it just going to be literally 1,000 years, and after the 1,000 years, they're not going to reign anymore? No. It's not like when the Most High, because 1,000 years is not time to get off your thrones. Yeah, you got to be able to get off your throne, right? Let the other nations get a chance. No, that's forever. Right? We're going to rule forever. Now, you have an actual 1,000-year period. That's the Israelites are going to rule. Then the other nations are going to have their slavery relinquished, for lack of better terms, and Esau is going to be exterminated. But prophetically, our rulership is going to be forever. Let's get that in Daniel 7 and 18. Right?
This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7, and verse number 18. And it reads, But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever.
See that? Forever. So it's not, well, the Lord said forever, forever to Daniel, but he lied to Daniel. The Lord didn't lie to Daniel and tell him forever, and then told John the truth. Okay, only 1,000 years. I didn't want to tell Daniel this. I didn't want to hurt his feelings. But I'm going to tell you what it really. That's not how it works, man. 1,000 years doesn't always mean the exact number of 1,000 years. Right? It's a certain dispensation of time. Right? Let's read on in Revelation 20.
Going back to the book of Revelation, chapter 20, and verse number 6. Verse number 5.
Read 4 again.
Revelation 20 and 4. And I saw the thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua, and for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast, nor his image, neither had received a mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Hamashiach 1,000 years.
Go on.
But the rest of the dead
But the rest of the dead
live not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection.
So the first resurrection is when Yahweh shall returns and beams up the elect. Right? Let's get that in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. Right? Let's get straight to the point. Read I believe we went 17. We start at 13.
It's the book of 1 Thessalonians, chapter 4 and verse. You said 13?
Yeah.
It's the book of 1 Thessalonians, chapter 4 and verse number 13. But I would have you to be ignorant. I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep.
Yeah, concerning them which are dead.
That ye sorrow not. For if we believe that Yahushua died and rose again, even so them also which sleep in Yahushua will God bring with him.
So the church of Thessalonica wanted to know what happened to people that passed away. Paul said, hey, look, if you know Yahushua died and rose again, then the people that died in the truth, they're going to rise again. Go on.
Verse number 15. For this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep.
Yeah, just because you survived the end of days in Jacob's trouble, that doesn't mean that the people who died in the truth aren't going to make it. They're still going to make it too. You got to think about they were put to death for the Lord. Huh? So if anybody's going to make it, it's going to be the people that died for the Lord. Let's read on.
Verse number 16. For the Lord himself shall descend with a shout, with the voice of the archangel.
Yeah, that's Michael the archangel.
And with the trump of God, and the dead in Hamashiach shall rise first.
Right, you're going to see the dead bodies come out the grave.
Verse 17, then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air.
That's the first resurrection. The first resurrection is when Yahushua returns and delivers up those that are dead and those that are alive. Now that we know that, let's read 5 again, Revelation 20 and 5.
Back to Revelation chapter 20, verse 5. But the rest of the dead live not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection.
Now let's go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 48 and 46. Right? So the other nations, they're going to have their slavery, for lack of better terms, mitigated after 1,000 years. And they'll be allowed to go back to their respective lands and be allowed to have a less harsher bondage. Let's get that in Jeremiah 48 and 46.
Jeremiah 48, verse 46.
And that's going to happen. That's going to happen after 1,000 years.
Woe be unto thee, O Moab! The people of Chemosh perisheth, for thy sons are taken captives, and thy daughters captives.
Right? They're going to go to slavery.
Yet will I bring again the captivity of Moab in the latter days, saith the Lord. Thus far is the judgment of Moab.
So they're going to go to captivity, but what is the Lord going to do in the latter days? What is he saying?
Bring them back to captivity again.
No, not that's when it says I will
Return to captivity.
yeah, it's like I will bring again the captivity of Moab. That doesn't mean put them in captivity again. It means like when the Lord's going to return our captivity. It means we're going to be delivered from our captivity. So they're going to go from a certain form of slavery to a lesser form of slavery. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 49 and verse 5.
Jeremiah 49 and verse 5. Behold, I will bring a fear upon thee, saith the Lord God of hosts, from all those that be about thee, and ye shall be driven out every man right forth, and none shall gather up him that wandereth.
Right?
And afterward I will bring again the captivity of the children of Ammon, saith the Lord.
So the Moabites, the Ammonites, these are all of the different nations. And as you read on, it's going to be all of the nations that after 1,000 years, they're going to still live. But Esau, he's going to be what? Exterminated. He's going to be the only nation after 1,000 years, after the first resurrection, that's completely done away with. The other nations after 1,000 years, they're not going to be exterminated, but the Lord's going to relinquish their captivity. Right? Let's get another precept. Let's go to Jeremiah, one more. Let's go to Jeremiah 49 and 38.
Jeremiah 49 and 38. And I will set my throne in Elam, and will destroy from thence the king of the princes, saith the Lord.
So these are judgments of the other nations.
But it shall come to pass in the latter days.
The latter days are the days after the last days. Those are days that go beyond the days we're living in now, right?
That I will bring again the captivity of Elam, saith the Lord.
That I will bring again the captivity of Elam, said the Lord. Right? Let's get it one more. Let's go to Ezekiel 47. Right? Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 47 and let's read verse 8 about the other nations living again after the 1,000 years.
Ezekiel 47 verse 8. Then said he unto me, these waters issue out toward the east country.
Who's the east country, parabolically? The elect, Jerusalem. Right? We're going to make it quick for sake of time. Go on.
Between the east country and go down into the desert.
Yeah, the desert represents the rest of our people that need the word. They're a desert, a dry land. Right? Go on.
And go into the sea.
The sea are the other nations.
What's being brought forth into the sea, the waters shall be healed.
The waters within the other nations are going to be healed. That's why it tells you in Revelation chapter 22, 1 on down, and the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. Right? Let's read on in Ezekiel 47.
Back to the book of Ezekiel
47 and 9.
Chapter 47 and verse 9, and it reads, and it shall come to pass that everything that liveth, which moveth, whithersoever the rivers shall come, shall live.
Shall what?
Shall live.
So whoever the living water hits, they're going to finally live again. All right, go on.
And there shall be a very great multitude of fish, because these waters shall come thither.
Now, fish is a sign that waters have life. You understand? Just like fruit is a sign that trees have life. So the waters, they're symbolic for the other nations. And the fish represents what? Anybody want to take a stab at it? If the waters are the other nations and they're finally being healed and now they're producing fish, do a brother want to take a stab at what the fish is?
Israel?
No, not Israel.
It's what their fruits.
They're fruits, which is your what?
Which is your works.
Your works. So you'll begin to see the other nations bear fish or bear fruit. If there was trees in this parable, it would have said bear fruit. But there are waters, but the sign of what? Waters is fish and life in waters. So it's a different parable with waters than it is with trees. Brothers understand that? All right. So you're going to have a very great multitude of fish. So you might see Ishmaelites with fringes on, Moabites with a beard on their face in the kingdom. Ammonites, did you say something?
That's Joel 3:17.
Yeah, Joel 3:17. The mountains shall drop wine and the hills of milk, paraphrasing. So the other nations are going to keep the commandments. Don't think the Lord put the other nations on the earth just for you to spit in their face all day, every day in the kingdom. But they're going to keep the commandments too, man. I don't like that. I want the Lord to die. Well, that's not why they're made, brother. And they were put on the earth. I just wanted to be Israel, right? No, brother, you got to have the other nations there. They're not going to be equal to us, but they're going to be our slaves and servants. And they're going to serve the Most High and keep the commandments. We're going to have to teach the other nations the commandments, right? Let's read on to Ezekiel 47.
Ezekiel 47 verse 10. It reads, and it shall come to pass that the fishers shall stand upon it.
So the fishers represents the elect. They're the ones who are going to catch the fish, for lack of better terms. It's all parabolic, right? The fishers shall stand upon it, meaning the waters.
From En-Gedi, even from En-Galam, they shall be a place to spread forth nets. Their fish shall be according to their kinds, and the fish of the great sea exceeding many.
So the fishers, anybody fishing here, y'all ever fish? When you throw throw the net into the waters and you catch fish, what are you doing with that fish? You checking to see what fish is good, what fish is bad, right? If fish is good, then you keep it in the boat. If fish is bad, you throw it back in the waters. So the elect job is to check on the fish and make sure the fish is profitable. Meaning what? No, not gaining knowledge. Their job is to make sure the other nations are keeping the commandments. Let's read on.
Verse number 11. But the miry places thereof and the marshes thereof shall not be healed.
Shall what?
Shall not be healed.
Right?
They shall be given to salt.
So all of the nations are going to be healed with the exception of this one nation, which the Lord calls the miry places. they're going to be given to salt. Salt on vegetation means you're never going to grow. They're never going to prosper, and they're never going to be healed. Who's the miry places? Esau. They will never be healed, right? They'll be given to salt, and they'll never be able to produce fish. They're the only waters who always cast up mire and dirt. Right? Let's get that in Isaiah chapter 57 and 20. Right? They're the only nation who are not going to be healed because they're going to be exterminated. They're going to be given to salt, right? Which is parabolic talk of them being destroyed.
Isaiah 57 verse 20. But the wicked are like the troubled sea.
See, they're waters too, but they're the troubled sea. Who's the wicked? Esau. Go on.
It's like it. When it cannot rest, whose waters cast up mire and dirt.
No, they're going to cast up an abundance of fish.
They cast up mire and dirt.
Can you do anything as a fisher with mire and dirt? You don't fish in those waters. They're unprofitable, huh? So Esau casts up mire and dirt instead of the fish like the other nations are going to do in the kingdom. One more real quick. Come on. Let's go to Job chapter 20. All right, let's go to Job chapter 20. All right, to kind of stretch this out, Salaki, but it is a chapter that brothers really need to know how to break down. All right, let's go to Job chapter 20 and verse 15.
Job 20 and 15.
It's speaking about Esau. I don't have to say Esau in there. I don't see the word Esau. How do I know it's talking about Esau? I don't know. Brother, relax, brother. Just look at the spirit, look at the precepts, and who else is going to fit these prophecies? All right, let's read it.
Job 20 and 15. He has swallowed down riches, and he shall vomit them up again. God shall cast them out of his belly.
He's going to cough up all of the wealth that he stole.
He shall suck the poison of asps. The viper's tongue shall slay him.
Right, that's his judgment.
He shall not see the rivers, the floods, the brooks of honey and butter.
Read that again.
He shall not see the rivers, the floods, the brooks of honey and butter.
What are the brooks of honey and butter? The wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to make you grow, to heal your waters. Esau's not going to get that living water. He's not going to get, there's no actual water that's flowing honey and butter. The honey and butter is the knowledge and understanding of the Most High. So all of the other nations, we read in Ezekiel 47, that's the living water. The floods of honey and butter are going to heal the other nations, but Esau, he's not going to be able to get that because he's given to dirt. He's going to be exterminated. But the other nations, they're going to live again. We read that in Ezekiel 47 and Revelation chapter 22, right? The leaves of the tree are for the healing of the nations, right? In Revelation 20 and 5, it says the rest of the dead. You got brothers in us talking about the Israelites. Now, we're always going to be regenerated, man. You're going to have kids and kids. You're not going to be with your wife. You're trying to have, but you can't get pregnant. But the Lord says, remember, I told you 1,000 years, right? That was not going to work like that, man. We're going to have children in abundance. So you have to understand Revelation 20 on a parabolic level, right? Life is always going to continue. It's not saying the Lord's going to stop life for 1,000 years and then he's going to put the spirits back on the earth. That's not how this program works, man. It's all parabolic.
To show that in the scripture, you can go to Isaiah chapter 60. You can start at verse 19 to show that we're going to be continuously multiplying in the kingdom.
Isaiah 60 verse 19. The sun shall be no more thy light by day, neither for brightness shall the moon give light unto thee, but the Lord shall be unto thee an everlasting light, and thy good and thy God thy glory.
Right, the Lord is going to put the law, statutes, and commandments in our inward parts, man. We're not going to want for knowledge for anything, man. Right, we're going to see the Lord face to face. Right, in the house of David is going to be like God on the earth, man. So we're not going to want for any knowledge because it's already going to be in our inward parts. No more stony flesh or stony heart. We're going to have a heart of flesh, man. Right, like you read.
Verse 20. The sun shall no more, verse 20, the sun shall no more go down, neither shall thy moon withdraw thyself, for the Lord shall be that everlasting light, and the days of thy mourning shall be ended.
Right.
Thy people also shall be all righteous. They shall inherit the land forever, the branch of my planting, the work of my hands, that I may be glorified.
Right.
A little one shall become as 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. I, the Lord, will hasten it in his time.
right? So the little one is going to become a great nation, man.
Right.
It's going to be an infinite amount of Israelites walking the earth, man. And they only going to be able to get down with it. Because as is the judge, so are the officers. Right? You're going to teach your servants in the ways of the Lord. Right? They're going to understand that new wine, that new water that's going to flow down is going to water the valley of Shittim. Right? These things are going to happen in the latter days because the Lord has spoken. Right? The heathen's not going to go back to eating cats and dogs.
Right.
Right? There's going to be no more wickedness on the earth, man. Right? Everybody's going to be required to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. In that same chapter, can you go to verse number 10?
Isaiah 60 and verse 10, and it reads, and the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee.
Right, so the heathen's going to build up our territory, man. They're going to build up our kingdom, man. Right? How we build up these infrastructures up here, these skyscrapers, these projects that our people are living in. That's the same thing. These Donald Trumps, these Bushes, who else? Rothschilds, Biden's, Rockefellers. They're going to be doing the same thing. Old, young, it don't matter, man. We're going to put them to work, right?
Reading on, verse number 11. Therefore thy gates shall be open continually. They shall not be shut day or night.
Right, because there ain't going to be no war, man. Ain't nobody going to want to get down with Israel after we already exterminated people, right? They're going to see the mighty men running to and fro. Nobody's going to want those problems, right?
That men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles, and that their kings may be brought for the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee.
For the nation and kingdom that will not serve the Lord or the Israelites
shall perish.
And that's what's going to happen to Esau after their time has been appointed, because they will not go past those bounds that the Lord has set. Right? It's an appointed time for Esau to rule. It's an appointed time for them to be in captivity. It's an appointed time for them to exist no more. Right? And that's going to come in these latter times. I'm not going to go into. Right? So we can go to the next question.
Next question is from G220 Ministries. It reads, this is it went away. Okay, it went away. So lucky. G220 Ministries had a question. The next question comes from Slovakia. G220 Ministries. Again, it's a scoffer. He reads, which laws are you keeping? He's scoffing.
What laws are we keeping? Right? Let's go to the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 4. Actually, let's go to Leviticus 19 and 17. Right? Let's get the classic. Right? We'll take all questions, even scoffing questions.
He asked earlier, when are we going to repent from idolatry?
Oh, he said, when are we going to repent from idolatry? All right, let's go to, you see that? Leviticus 19 and 17. This is the commandment we're keeping.
Leviticus 19, verse 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart.
What the Lord say?
Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart.
Go on.
Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor.
That's what we're doing. Go on.
And not suffer sin upon him.
And we're not suffering sin upon our neighbor, man. This is love. Right? We're giving our people love. There's no other greater commandment than that. Right? That's Mark 12 and 29 or down. Right. Commandments that you keep.
All right, we can move on.
Next question from Nameless. Matthew 6:22. Is that the third eye? What is this talking about?
Let's go to Matthew 6 and 22. What is the drama on the question? Right? And we just went over that, man. There's no such thing as the third eye. Right? That goes back into ancient Hamite and ancient heathen customs. Really, the Elamites deal with that. A lot of the Elamites deal with that third eye. You had a brother talking about you got to tap into your 7 chakras. And you have fringes on. Because this represents Revelation, and this chakra point represents Genesis. And then that's not what it's talking about, huh? All right, let's go to Matthew 6 and 22.
Matthew 6 and 22. And it reads, Matthew 6, verse 22. Salaki, and it reads, the light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light.
Yeah, it's talking about your mind, right? Meaning your mind has to be strictly on your Yahweh Shai, so your whole body can be full of light, right? Let's go to Ephesians 1 and 12.
He answered the third eye.
You know, it's not talking about a third eye, right? It's just talking about your mind, the spirit. right? Let's go to Ephesians 1. Let the Most High be true. Let's get Ephesians 1 and 18.
Ephesians chapter 1, verse 18.
Start at 17.
Ephesians 1 and 17. That the God of our Lord, Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, the Father of glory, may give unto you the spirit of wisdom and revelation and knowledge of him.
Right.
The eyes of your understanding.
What the Lord say?
The eyes of your understanding.
You have your actual carnal eyes, and then you have your eyes of your understanding. Being what?
The eyes of your understanding being enlightened.
Being enlightened. That what?
That ye may know what is the hope of his calling, and what the riches of glory of his inheritance in the saints.
So the eyes of your understanding is just your spirit, right? The spirit, your mind, being totally dialed into Yahweh Shah.
Let's go to Mark 2 and 21, man. Brothers got to stop and sisters got to stop holding on to the old ideologies that they learned before they came into this truth, man. Right, you're going to jam yourself up.
That's right.
Right, bringing some Buddhism in to the truth, Christianity. Right, you got to forsake all that. You got to come as a child and forget all the ways that you used to know, man.
Right.
That's a slippery slope. Ain't no chakras that we dealing with. No third eye. I don't even know any. I forgot all the other euphemisms that they put on these things, man.
Right.
Mark chapter 2 and verse 21.
Right.
No man also seweth a piece of new cloth of an old garment, else the new piece that is filled up taketh away from the old.
Right. So you don't take a fresh new garment that you had and cut out something old and sew it onto the new. Right? It's going to ruin that garment, man.
Right.
You might have paid $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 for it. Now it's worth nothing.
Right.
Right.
So, reading on Mark 2 and verse 21, and the rent is made worse. And no man, verse 22, and no man putteth new wine into old bottles, else the new wine doeth burst the bottles.
Right? You don't mix wines, man. You don't take that brand new fresh wine and put it in that old bottle that's halfway gone, man. That's madness, man. That's the same way you look talking about the third eye, talking about your chakras, right? Talking about I don't know, inner God and all this other stuff that people be making up, man.
Right.
Right? So stop mixing wine, stop mixing fabrics, right? Same thing. That's going into the doctrines, man. Stop bringing doctrines into this truth, man. Because you're going to destroy yourself, right? Thinking that you have the understanding of something and it's far left.
Yeah. Now let's go to real quick. Just link up what Amos said. Let's go to Leviticus. So I can
What? Let's go to Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 19.
Leviticus,
This is the law.
Leviticus 19, verse 19, ye shall keep my statutes, that thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with diverse
And
kinds.
no mixing breeds and ligers and sources and all types of stuff.
Thou shalt not sow thy field with mingled seed.
Yeah, plum cots and half fruit this and half this, right?
Neither shall a garment neither shall a garment mingled of linen and woolen come upon thee.
That's physically, but that's also spiritual. You can't mingle your garments up, man. You got an all-white garment, like the brother said, but you want to take pieces of your old worldly garment and put it on, man. You can't do that, man. That's what brothers do, man. They bring that weed smoking. Let's go to damn witchcraft spirit, into this truth, man. Right? You got people, you gotta burn your sage and get rid of the demons. Get all of the sage out, burn it. Where is it at in the Bible? When did Abraham burn the sage with Isaac? Right? That's not in there, man. Let's go to Song of Solomon real quick, chapter 5. That burn, what else Jay do? You burn the sage.
Crystals.
Yeah, yeah, you got people into crystals in the truth. Tap into, and they got the little aluminum with this damn wire around it. The Lord isn't dealing with crystals, man. Let's go to Song of Solomon 5 and 5.
Song of Solomon 5, verse 5. I rose up.
No, 5 and verse Lakia. Song of Solomon chapter 5, and we can start at verse 3.
Song of Solomon chapter 5, verse 3. I have put off my coat. How shall I put it on? I have washed my feet. How shall I defile them?
So you putting off your coat when you come into this truth. What's your coat? Your old sins, that old creepy, nasty coat you had on, stained up with adultery, fornication, magic, third eye. Hey, the Lord said you put your coat off. Why would you put it back on? Why would you go? You done worked a dirty job, and then you go take a shower. Think about it spiritually, and you go back and you put that old clothes back on. What's the point of you taking a shower and cleansing yourself and washing your feet to go back and tread down the path of mud, filth, and evil? So you put your coat off, leave it off. Don't take it to the clean. I'm gonna try to revamp it and mix it in. Don't cut it up and sew it. Hey, leave it in the trash can, bro. You know?
Yeah. We can go to Zephaniah 8 as well. Right? Like the brother said, man, you're not gonna put down fresh linen on your bed, right? You just got in from walking outside and hop in your bed with your shoes on. Right? That's what Edomites do, man.
Right.
Let their dogs jump on their bed, dirty paws, right? Yeah, it's wicked, man.
Right.
So you can't do these things, man. You can't hold on to these old ideologies that plagued you in the world, man. Right? I'll be the first one to tell you, I tried to hold on to doctrines coming into the truth. What the Lord do, he cast those down, man. He cut me every time. Cut me every time I tried to hold on to it, man.
Zephaniah 1 verse 8. And it shall come to pass in the day of the Lord's sacrifice that I will punish the princes and the king's children, and all such are clothed with strange apparel.
Right, that's twofold. Right, he's gonna come and kill the women dressed like harlots, men dressed as women. Right, but on the other fold, that's talking about those are in different doctrines, man. Right, he's gonna destroy those who are walking around trying to carry on in the ways of I don't know, Moab. Right, they want to be. Cause you got Jake that says that, man. I'm Moorish. I'm a Moabite.
Yeah, I'm an ancient Moabite.
Yeah, man. These people are so plagued with these doctrines, they don't know how to let it go, man. That's why a lot of our fathers and mothers don't come into this truth. Right? They are too institutionalized in doctrines, man.
Right.
And that's why we got to cast down these strongholds. Right? Give our people the proper understanding. Heal the sick. Right? We can go on from that.
Good precept.
One more, Revelation chapter 3 and 17.
Revelation chapter 3 verse 17. Because thou sayest, I am rich and increase with goods and have need of nothing, and knowest not that thou art wretched and miserable and poor and blind and naked.
You got certain people, they think they well off, but they really don't know what the hell is going on. Right? Read it again.
Because thou sayest, I am rich.
Yeah, people, I fear God. I love God. I'm rich with God. I have a relationship with the Lord. He's in my heart.
Go on.
And increase with goods.
I have money. God is blessing me. You see my job. I made over 6 figures. God is good, right? Increase with goods.
And have need of nothing.
I don't need anything. What do I have to learn about this Hebrew Israelite madness? Go on.
And knowest not that thou art wretched.
They don't even know that they're wretched. Right? Go on.
And miserable.
Because you don't even know your nationality.
And poor.
You're spiritually poor without the wisdom and understanding of the Most High.
And blind.
And what?
And blind.
And blind, meaning you're in darkness.
And naked.
You don't even have a garment on. Right? You're in sin. Read on.
Verse number 18.
Here's the Most High's counsel.
I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire, that thou mayest be rich, and white raiment.
The Lord said, buy gold in the fire and buy white raiment, meaning acquire this truth, for lack of better terms. Buy you a garment that's free. Read.
That thou mayest be clothed.
Clothe yourself with the knowledge of the Most High.
And that the shame of thy nakedness do not appear.
Right?
And anointing thy eyes with eye salve, that thou mayest see.
That's the eye that has to be seen. First, you have to anoint it with eye salve. Is that talking about what a Walgreens? You guys have eye, you open up this Revelation, you say, well, look, you go into the blue letter, you go to the pharmacist, and they say, well, you know, you got a point. And he reaches, let me see what I can do for you. And you get that little nasty white bag with some eye drops in it. That's not what it's talking about, man. What is the eye salve? The truth. Anoint your mind with the truth that you are no longer blinded, man. So this is the cure for blindness. It's not that creepy white bag that the guy gives you behind Walgreens and Giant. You know, it's talking about this truth. So that's the eye that has to be seen. The eye of your understanding.
All right, we can move to the next question.
This is the next question from G2020 Ministries. It's bad. If you're not in the new covenant, then please explain what is your animal sacrifice on the Day of Atonement. What laws are you keeping?
Read it again.
G2020 Ministries.
But this can edify somebody.
Yeah.
Somebody might not know. Oh, they went away.
We'll go to Hebrews 8 and 8.
All right, let's go to it. Right? Well, he's just unlearned. You know, somebody's son.
This is crazy.
Hebrews chapter 8, verse 8. For finding fault with them, he said,
Right.
Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel.
Right, so it was found fault with the old covenant, man, because Israel's wicked. Man, they would have a sin already predestined in their mind. And what would they do? Let me go ahead and pull this lamb up here and offer this lamb before I sin, man. Right? So there you go, brother. There you go. Because you're still in your wickedness, like everybody else in this room on the live chat is. Everybody's still in wickedness, man. We striving for perfection, man. Right. We're rehearsing these righteous acts, man. So no, we're not in the new covenant. Go ahead and keep reading, King.
Reading on. And with the house of Judah. Verse 9. Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them up out of the land to lead them out of the land of Egypt. Right. Because they continue not in my covenant.
Right, so for it to be a new covenant or testimony, we should say, you'll have to have a testator. Right, that testator has to shed their blood to bring us into that new covenant. And who shed their blood for us? Yahweh Shah. So now we're into it, man. Now we have grace. Now we have mercy. Now we have the time to repent and to get right. Right? For the sins that you've done, you probably should have been put to death. Now, did you sacrifice animals for all the sins that you have done? No. That's that grace and mercy right there. Right? Go ahead, keep reading, Ken.
Because they continue not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, saith the Lord.
After those days,
I will put my laws in their inward parts.
Right, the Lord has not put his laws.
I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts.
Right, so the Lord has not put those laws, statutes, commandments in our hearts yet, man. Because I can ask you, brother, well, how many days is your wife unclean if she bore a maid woman, a maid daughter? Right, and nobody would know that answer. Right, these laws are not in our inward parts, man. We still have that abominable flesh that causes us to go off, man. Once we get in this new covenant, man, we're transitioning, shall we say. We're transitioning to that new covenant, man. Because once we get into it, ain't gonna be no more sin. We just was reading about that. Right? There's more on that, King?
Oh yeah, a little bit more.
Okay.
It reads, I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people.
This is plain as that. There's more on that too.
Verse number 11. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord, for all shall know me, for the least to the greatest.
Right. So we still got to go out there and teach Israel, right. Do you know your God? Right. And it says, from all of them shall know me, from the least to the greatest. And a good majority of our people don't know Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Right. A large majority. Right. That's why we out on the highways and byways. So yes, we still must sacrifice, but it's not animal sacrifice, because we have a more perfect sacrifice, which is Yahweh Shah.
Quick precept.
Ezekiel 20 and 36. It reads, Ezekiel 20 and 36. Like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, said the Lord God. This is second wilderness. And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. So what is the new covenant going to take place in the wilderness? Right? When the Lord calls you to pass under the bond or to pass under the rod, then you'll be counted worthy to enter completely into everlasting life in the kingdom. Right? In the wilderness, not right now. Like the brother said, you don't even know people don't even know the 10 commandments. I don't know what's the fifth. You ask me what's the 8th commandment? I don't know. Well, brother, how are you in the new covenant? It makes no sense. Like the brother said, you literally have to go out there and teach your people. Under the stipulations of a new covenant, you're not going to have to go out there and do that. So nobody knows who they are right now. So obviously we're not under the new covenant. All right, let's get a sincere question.
This is a sincere question from the dawn at 12:19 p.m. Isaiah 19 and 25 speaks as if Egypt and Assyria are one people with Israel. Like they come from the same stock.
Hold on, read it again, Bible Bishop.
Isaiah 19 and 25 speaks as if Egypt and Assyria are the same people with Israel, like they come of the same stock. I don't understand.
I'll just break it down. Isaiah 19 to 25. Let's read Isaiah chapter 19 to 25 from the Don.
Yeah, the dawn.
Can we start at 19?
Yeah, let's start at 19.
This is the book of Isaiah chapter 19, verse 19. It reads,
And you always have to anoint your eyes with eye salve before you read. Because you'll get caught up in this. And you'll think that the Lord is dealing with the Egyptians and the Assyrians. And you put your head down and you say, well, I'm not special. I'm just like an Egyptian. Right? Let's read this.
Isaiah chapter 19 and verse number 19. And it reads, and that day shall there be an altar to the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt, and a pillar at the border thereof to the Lord.
Yeah, that's not an actual altar. It's just speaking about us doing the work of the Most High, presenting our bodies as living sacrifices and coming back to the Most High, which is a sweet savor in the eyes of the Lord. Go on.
And it shall be for a sign and for a witness unto the Lord of hosts in the land of Egypt.
That's America, Egypt, right?
But they shall cry unto the Lord because of their oppressors.
Right, the so-called nasty white man.
And he shall send them a savior
Hamashiach Yahushua.
and a great one.
Right?
And he shall deliver them.
Right, go on.
And the Lord shall be known to Egypt, and the Egyptians shall know the Lord in that day, and shall do sacrifice and oblation. Yea, they shall bow unto the Lord and perform it.
It's not talking about the actual Egyptians or the so-called white man. Right? We're the people who the Lord is calling the Egyptians in this context. Sometimes it's talking about the so-called white man, sometimes it's talking about us. And we'll show you that as we read on.
Verse 22. And the Lord, it reads, and the Lord shall smite Egypt, he shall smite and heal it, and they shall return even to the Lord, and he shall be entreated of them, and shall heal them.
Now, let's go to the book of Jeremiah chapter 51. Real quick precept. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 9.
Jeremiah 51 verse 9. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed.
So in one context, the Lord said he's going to heal Egypt, which is America. Then the other one says, well, we're not going to heal it. So this lets you know that this Egypt that is talking about, keeping in its proper context, the Lord is going to heal his people that live in Egypt. All right, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. All right, go on.
Reading on. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country. For her judgment reacheth unto the heaven, and is lifted up even to the sky.
In one context, you see the Lord saying he will not heal Egypt or heal Babylon. But why is he saying in Isaiah 19, he's going to heal it? Read it again, 19 and 22.
Isaiah 19 to 22. And the Lord shall smite Egypt, he shall smite and heal it, and they shall return even to the Lord, and he shall be entreated of them, and shall heal them.
Let's go to Hosea 6 and 1. We're the people that live in Egypt that are being smitten and being healed. It's not talking about the Lord building up America all over again. Right?
Salaki. And then in 22, it says, and they shall return even to the Lord. Right? There's no account in the scriptures of the Egyptians ever knowing the Lord.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when you read Isaiah, you got to understand that it's written in similitudes. Yep. Right? And I got a precept after this one.
Hosea 6 verse 1. Come, let us return unto the Lord.
What the Lord say?
Come, let us return unto the Lord.
Anytime you read about our forefathers saying return to the Lord, they're only talking about the Israelites. Right? They're never talking about the Edomites, the Moabites, the Hamites. Come, let's return to the Lord. That's Hosea prophesying to his people. Go on.
He hath torn, and he will heal us.
We just read that in Isaiah 19. Read that part again. He hath what?
He hath torn, and he will heal us.
Right? We read in Isaiah 19, he shall smite and heal it. Read on in Hosea.
He hath smitten.
Right? He shall smite and heal it. Go on.
And he will bind us up.
That's Isaiah 19. The Lord has broken us in the place of dragons. We read that. We've been beat down, wounded with the wound of an enemy. But the Lord is healing us with this knowledge and understanding in the last days. As we dwell in Egypt, that's where the majority of our people are at. Right? In Babylon the Great. All tribes are here, man. You got Ephraimites, you got Manassites, you got Levites, you got all of the tribes here in Babylon the Great. but the Lord broke us and he's healing us right now. So don't think it that's talking about the actual Africans. The Lord showed you about them during the time of Moses, man. He destroyed the firstborn. But now all of a sudden the Lord has a change of heart. Well, I think I'm gonna save the Africans. The Lord, look, I can't stand the Africans, man. Why you go Esau and then the damn Africans, man?
Then Moab.
Yeah, then Moab. We got a list, man. We talk about this, man. What nation do we hate the most? Now, nobody's going to argue with Esau, but other brothers, well, who's next? I say Ham. Some brothers, they say the Moabites. Other brothers say the Ishmaelites. I can't stand these damn Hamites, man. You said what? Yeah, Ham. The brother said Ham, man. For 1,000+1 reasons. So don't think the Lord has changed his heart to deal with the wicked, filthy, abominable, blood-drinking, all types of stuff, man.
Right? It's gonna go on the rent.
Let's go to 2 Esdras 2 and verse 32.
2 Ezra chapter 2, verse number 32.
So like when you read this, you got to read it in context, man. You got to have the understanding of it. Like the brother said, you got to have that eyesight ready, man. Because you can get tripped up on these things, man. Isaiah's not an easy book to read if you don't know history. Right. It's like if you don't know history, if you don't have an understanding of who this was being written to, right? Before we go to that, let's go to Isaiah 1 and 1.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 1 and verse number 1. The vision of Isaiah, the son of Amos, which he saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah.
Right, so you know that the whole book of Isaiah is concerning Israel and Judah, right, during the days of these kings. So you can't get misconstrued and read something and you see the God from Egypt. Be like, oh my gosh, right? That's the God that they was talking about. No.
Anunnaki.
Yeah, the Anunnakis and all these other crazy doctrines that people have. You have to have the understanding, right? These things are hard to read. That's why you got to go precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little, to get to understand it, right? Esau is called the Assyrians in Isaiah. That's right. Now is Esau the Assyrianites, right? They say anything nowadays. Right, let's get to 2 Esdras 2, verse 32.
It reads, 2 Ezra 2 and 32. Embrace thy children until I come, and shew mercy unto them. For my wells run over, and my grace shall not fail.
Right.
I, Esdras, received a charge of the Lord upon the Mount Oreb.
Right, so Esdras received the charge from the Lord on the Mount Oreb.
That I should go unto Israel. But when I came unto them...
Wait, who did he say he should go unto?
That I should go unto Israel.
So he got a charge to go unto Israel and prophesying to them, right?
But when I came unto them, they set me at naught and despised the commandment of the Lord.
Right.
And therefore I say unto you,
unto who?
O ye heathen.
What did the Lord call them?
O ye heathen.
Now, is he going to the heathens? Is he going to the heathens and tell them what?
That heard and understand, look for your shepherd.
So now the heathens have a shepherd. And who's our shepherd? Yahweh Shai. So now the Lord is giving the charge to Esdras to go into the heathens and tell them to get ready for the arrest that the shepherd is coming. No, you got to read it in proper context, get the precepts and get the understanding. Don't get thrown off because you see the Egyptians. Go back and read it and get the precepts so you understand which Egyptians that they're talking about. Because a lot of these similitudes, right, the Lord like to talk a lot of smack. Right. You know what I'm saying? The Lord, he'll throw down. He called them dragons. He called us heathens, stiff-necked, rebellious. Right? It's a lot of things that the Lord is saying about it. So you got to make sure you read it in a proper context with the precepts to get the understanding. Or you can finish that verse off.
He shall give you everlasting rest, for he is nigh at hand. That shall come in the end of the world.
Right? And it's just that simple. It's just that simple that you know that it's talking about Israel, even though the Lord called them heathens. Right? So when you go back and read, that's why I said let's start at 19. Right? Because the Lord is building an altar up. Those are the elect of the elect. The 144,000 being sealed in the land of Egypt, man, which is Babylon the Great.
Kind of quick precept.
Let's go to Ezekiel 16 and 2. Right? And that's not the first time the Lord called us names of other nations. Right? That's not the first time. So a lot of brothers don't get to Isaiah 19 and lose your mind. Let's go to Ezekiel 16 and 2.
Ezekiel 16, verse 2. Son of man.
It's like the Lord called us all types of stuff. A whore. The Lord called us a harlot. Yeah, slow, an ass, an ox,
The brother said Gentile.
a dumbass, Gentile, an Egyptian, an Assyrian, and all these things, man. Why? Because we have what? Broken the laws and commandments, and have went astray and lived like the heathen, and the title of the heathen has been given to us. So let's read that Ezekiel 16:2.
And it reads, Son of man, cause Jerusalem to know her abomination.
Right?
And say, Thus saith the Lord God unto Jerusalem, thy birth and thy nativity is of the land of Canaan. Thy father was an Amorite, and thy mother an Hittite.
Are we Amorites and Hittites? No, man. But our forefathers dwelt in that land, and we lived like those other heathen at a certain period of time. So the Lord called us an Amorite and an Hittite. Right? Let's go to the book of Isaiah. Right? Chapter 27, and I believe I went 13. So the Lord calls us the Egyptians and the Assyrians. Why? Because we dwell in those lands. Egypt and Assyria represents our first and last captivity, or all of our captivities. Isaiah 27:13.
Isaiah 27, verse 13. And it shall come to pass in that day that the great trumpet shall be
We
blown,
read that in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4.
and they shall come which were ready to perish
We barely going to make it out of here. The righteous shall scarcely be saved.
in the land of Assyria, and the outcasts in the land of Egypt,
Why are they always linked up? Assyria and Egypt. Go on.
and shall worship the Lord in the mountain at Jerusalem.
See that? The Lord calls all of our captivities, he sums it up as what? Two places? Egypt and Assyria. Rather you live in China, Canada, the Bahamas, Australia, it's all Egypt or Assyria. One more. Let's go to Zachariah 10:10. Zachariah chapter 10:10.
This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 10 and verse 10, and it reads, I will bring them again also out of the land of Egypt, and gather them out of Assyria, and I will bring them into the land of Gilead and Lebanon, and place shall not be found for them.
Egypt and Assyria again. That's our captivities. Let's go to Isaiah 19. Now that we know that, let's break it down. All right, Isaiah chapter 19.
Back to the book of Isaiah
22.
Isaiah 19, verse 22. And the Lord shall smite Egypt, he shall smite and heal it.
He's smiting us and he's healing us.
It reads, and they shall return even to the Lord, and he shall be entreated of them, and shall heal them.
Right, go on.
Verse 23, in that day shall there be a highway out of Egypt to Assyria, and the Assyrian shall come into Egypt, and the Egyptian into Assyria.
That's the tribes being gathered together.
And the Egyptians shall serve with the Assyrians.
And we're all serving the Most High together, man. Go on.
And that day shall Israel be the third with Egypt and with Assyria.
Now people now be like, well, I don't know now. Israel's third? I thought the Lord loved us. Read it again.
And in that day shall Israel be the third with Egypt and Assyria. Even a blessing in the midst of the land.
And the number 3 or third means what? Completion. That's why it says they shall be third. Right? That's what the third represents. A third, in this context and certain prophecies, just means a complete amount. Right? That's why you have Egypt, Assyria, and Israel. Right? Let's get a precept. You got a precept? Bring it up.
It's the book of Revelation, chapter 12, and verse number Salakia. The third that starts from heaven. Verse number 10. And it's Salakia.
I'm going like 2 or 3.
Oh yeah, verse 4. Salakia. Revelation chapter 12, verse 4. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven.
See that? That's the dragon, the so-called white man, took down the tribes, which the Lord calls a third part, which is predominantly Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Right? But you had other tribes in there. So he took down the portion of the Israelites. Go on.
Of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth,
And to put us in slavery.
and the dragon stood before the woman.
Let's sit on that. Right? But the point is the third part of the stars represents a portion of the Israelites being from a higher state being taken down to a lower state. One more on the third. Go to John chapter 21. You all right? Go to John 21, and I believe I want 17.
John chapter 21 and verse number 17. He said unto him the third time.
The what?
The third time.
He told him the first time, do you lovest thou me more than these? Lord, thou knowest that I love you. Told Peter the second time, do you lovest thou me more than these? He said, yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. Then he said to him the third time, go on.
Simon, son of Jonas, love thou me?
Do you love me?
Peter was grieved because he said unto him the third time, lovest thou me? And he said unto him, Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee. Yahweh shall saith unto him, feed my sheep.
I have to tell him 3 times. The third time. So Israel being third doesn't mean you have a hierarchy of nations. And Israel somehow in the kingdom of heaven don't get the rule, but they're third under the nations that oppressed us. So we're just talking about a complete deliverance for the entire nation of Israel, symbolic for our people in captivity and our people who know that they're Israel. Brothers understand that?
Wow.
We can move on.
All right, this is the next question from Salakia. There's a lot of talking going on, Salakia. From G2020 Ministries at 12:44 p.m. So it reads, so you are back to the law. What laws do you keep? What animal sacrifices do you
Go to the next question. We already answered that, right?
Madness.
Salakia.
Brothers wake up in the morning, get ready, can't wait to scoff. Log in, they type in the email, forgot their password, they send a link to their phone, get the link, they press it, open back up on their password, try to find the channel, they can't find it, they find the video, log in, they click their name, then they scoff, man. Is that what brothers do? Yeah, eat some tricks, man. You know? And got the damn TV on, and the kids running around yelling, and they scoffing on the comment board. They got a bad signal, they mad, they got fired from their job, and they just scoffing. So let's read.
So like the only way to sacrifice it has to be done by a Levite, man. Right? You go ahead and try to sacrifice it to the Lord yourself and watch what happens, man.
Yeah, you got people doing that right now. You got OT Israelites killing chickens in their backyard because they can't afford lamb. It's too expensive, so they'll just kill a chicken. And they'll get a bunch of rocks from their neighbor's driveway and make an altar. And they'll break apart their grill, a Foreman grill, and use that for like the crate, the part where you put the animal on. And they'll, hey man, it's going off, man. You can't be doing animal sacrifices, man. Right now, right? For the heathen, there'll be different sacrifices for them when they go off in the kingdom. But we don't need animal sacrifices, man. Yahweh Shah is our sacrifice. Right? We don't even have a temple to perform other sacrifices outside of atonement for sin sacrifices if we wanted to, like peace offerings and things of that nature.
And Salakia, the questions restart, so we don't get them when they're already posted. So if you got questions, please keep posting them, and Lord willing, we can get to them.
QGM Quake asks, hey brothers, do y'all have contact information?
Yeah, all information that comes with trying to access the camp and how to join the camp and things of that nature. We have the email, Watchmen for Israel 77@gmail.com, and we have the Instagram with that same name, Watchmen for Israel. Facebook, Twitter is all the same thing.
Next question from Rayo. Shalom. How would a brew get married if they don't have a camp they belong to and would get married? By going to a courthouse under the traditions of this world, be wrong to the Most High?
All right, let's go to the book of Zachariah Chapter 7. So the question is, how would a brew get married? Well, you don't have to be in a camp to get married. You don't have to be in a camp to get married, man. Now it's good if you have a congregation where you have men that can give you counsel, advice, and say, hey, hey, this sister's doing A, B, and C, man. Or there's more to the question?
Yeah, she asked that, and she said, by going to a courthouse under the traditions of this world, would that be wrong with the Most High?
Would that be wrong? All right, let's go to Zechariah chapter 7, and let's read verse 20. Let's start at, 23. 26. 7 to 26.
Sirach 7:26. Hast thou a wife after thy mind?
Right? Do a man, does he have a wife after his mind?
Forsake her not.
Right? Don't forsake her. Don't say, well, I'm just a man. I'm a nobody. I'll just die alone. Right? Because I'm in bondage. No, don't forsake her, man. Right? Go on.
It reads, but give not thyself over to a light woman.
You don't give yourself over to a woman that don't know a damn thing. Right? She's not the truth. She has no idea what's going on, but she just looked good. That's off, man. So if you do have a wife, that was the sister that asked that, right?
Yeah.
Right, but from a brother's perspective, or a sister, if you want to get married, then there's no sin in getting married. Now, what you have to do, you have to precept.
No.
Let's go to Sirach 6 and 7. This is how a brew gets married.
That's right.
Right? Brew, short for Hebrew. Sirach 6 and 7.
Zachariah Chapter 6, verse 7. If thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first.
Do what?
If thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first.
No, you get one slip up and one night stand.
Prove him first.
See that? Prove him first and what?
And be not hasty to credit him.
Right, not after the first day. This is the one. I'm in love. You don't even know her name, brother. That don't matter. You can't tell me what love is. You're not in my heart. I know I love her. All right, brother. Then you married her, and she was already married to another dude. But she didn't tell you. But you would one day in. And the Lord said, be not hasty to credit them. You got to prove somebody, man. Hey, the Lord said, let's go to 1 John 4:1 real quick. You got to prove them. You got the word, what's another word for prove? Test. Somebody said test. That's you test them, man. Examine it. Right? Bring that up.
1 John 4, verse 1.
Hey, people test metals, man. They got the little thing, but they put it on your diamond. Is that a real diamond or not? They prove it, man. They don't just believe that's a diamond. It's bright. Hey, it might not be real. Yeah, it's big. Yeah, it's bright. Yeah, it shines. Yeah, they said it costs so and so and so and so. But put it to the test. Let's put it through the fire. Let's see if this thing is a real diamond or not, man. Let's read that.
1 John 4, verse 1. Beloved, believe not every spirit.
Now, believe any Israelite because they got fringes on.
Believe not every spirit.
Don't just believe every spirit. Go on.
But try the spirits whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out into the world.
Now, go to that word try in the Greek real quick. We're going to go to that word, try. I'm going to show you what that's going into. When the Lord said try the spirits, because it's like it said, try them whether they are of God, huh? Meaning test them, examine them. Right? When people in a courtroom want to see if you're honest or not, they'll what? They'll cross-examine you, huh? Right? They'll bring a witness to the stand and a prosecutor. They want to see if that guy's telling the truth. They just take his words because he swore on the Bible. How come they have to cross-examine him? If he swore in and say he'll tell the truth, what's the point of cross-examining him, huh? They want to get down to the bottom of the matter. Right? Now, this word try in the Greek, right? We're going to play this.
1381, dokimazo.
Right? Dokimazo, that's the word try in the Greek. Now, it literally means to test, literally or figuratively, and by implication to approve, allow, discern, examine. Now, check this out. It says to test, examine, prove, scrutinize, to see whether a thing is genuine or not, as metals. To recognize as genuine after examination, to approve and deem worthy. And people do that with metals, man. Right? You see them old nasty Amalekites, they got the eye monocle, they spin the diamond around, right? It's cubic what do they call it? Cubic zirconium. It's not a real diamond, right? It's cubic zirconium, you know? It's so-and-so, you made this. And they examine it, man. They're not just going to believe you. They put the thing on, they got the microscope. They show you that in the movie with Adam Sandler, man. Uncut Gems. He was going to those guys and they're looking at the watch. It's not real or not. They might hit it. And they got a certain test called the Mohs hardness test, man. Where you test certain metals to see their endurance, man, how hard they are. You got to do that with a man or a woman. You got to test them. Like a lawyer, you got to cross-examine them. Well, what about this? What about this? Oh, you study, you lying. You're doing A, B, and C. Don't be ashamed to put somebody you proven through the fire, huh?
That's what your parents do to you, man. What time you say you got in? Well, where was you at?
Right.
Right, that's the same thing you got to do. But to show you that it's not, you don't necessarily have to get a marriage covenant through Esau. Right, if you feel it in your spirit to do that, by all means do it. Right, let's go to Genesis 24. We can start at verse 63. Because some of our forefathers didn't write marriage covenants. Right, and if it's in your spirit to write a marriage covenant, write it between yourself and your wife.
And never in the history of Israel did our oppressor validate our marriage.
Right.
Never from the time of us coming out of Egypt did we ever have to go to the heathen to give you the green light to validate your marriage. Joseph didn't go to the Romans. He was going to write that bill of divorce himself, huh? And put her away privately. How come you didn't go to the Romans and say, well, you don't have to go to your oppressor to validate your marriage. That's divinely inspired by Yahweh Bashem Yahushua.
Genesis 24, verse number 63. And Isaac went out to meditate in the field of the evening time. And he lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, the camels were coming. And Rebekah lifted up her eyes. And when she saw Isaac, she lightened herself sluggish. She lighted off the camel.
Right? So she saw Isaac and she was like, oh my gosh. And floated off the camel down there, man. Right?
For she had said unto her servant, what man is this that walketh in the field to meet us? And the servant said, it is my master. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself.
Right? She was in love at first sight. Right? Love at first sight. She came off with the veil on. She's like, look, this is my master right here. She's like, well, yeah, let me prepare myself to meet him. Right?
Verse 66. And the servant told Isaac all the things that he had done.
Right? So you gotta be mindful. Picture this, man. A brother just our forefather just lost his mom. He's sitting out in the field, right? Got his mind heavy, thinking about, Lord knows what, sitting in the field, and this beautiful woman come over with camels, and your servant said, look, I just went and got her. Why don't you go meet her? Right?
Verse number 67. And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent and took Rebekah.
He took her into the tent.
And she became his wife.
No, they went to Ham and got marriage covenant.
And she became his wife.
And he went in there and he did what he had to do. And they became husband and wife, right?
And he loved her.
And he loved her. Right? That's key, man. A lot of marriages are predicated not off the foundation being Yahweh Bashem Yahushua and the love for one another, man. That's why it doesn't last, man. Marriage is a union between man and woman with the foundation being the Lord. You have to love your wife, man. You have to love your wife. And wives, you have to love your husband. You got to obey your husband. You got to honor your husband. Husband, you got to honor your wife as the weaker vessel. Right? That's important. Right? That's important to an Israelite marriage, man. That's why a lot of marriages aren't lasting. Because it's built off of lust. Right? Getting bigged up by your Aki. I'm talking about, she's bad, man. Right? It's not built off the Lord, man. Right? He loved her.
And he loved her. And Isaac was comforted after his mother's death.
And your wife is going to comfort you in your times of loneliness, man. And your husband's going to build you up in your times of loneliness, man. That's an even balance, man. Right? It's not 50-50, but it's a just balance, man. The Lord will build you up to maintain your household, to raise your family up right. And the Lord will build up the women to be keepers at home, to raise the children up how they're supposed to be. That's love in a sense right there. That's keeping the commandments, right? That's love in a sense right there. So no, you don't have to go to Esau to get a contract, right? The brother Malachi in Detroit, he used to give out marriage contracts. Right, Lord willing, we can try to find something and hand them out for free, man. So Israel can write themselves out marriage contracts, so they're not questioning if they have to go to Esau.
Right.
Yeah, and the so-called white man, he'll dictate your marriage. He can step into your marriage, man. He's the one that's giving you the contract, man. You understand? So when you give yourself over, now if you have certain, I know people don't do it for legal reasons or whatever the case may be. If I die, my house goes in name, they can't claim it. A, B, and C, right? Then you can write a will. There's other ways to go about doing things, right? notarizing there's certain things, there's a legal way and a wise way to go about things to keep people out of your marriage. You know? Now, when you read Tobit, they had instruments of covenant. Let's get that. Right?
It's the book of Tobit.
Let's go to chapter 8 and verse. We don't want to bear with me. Right? Let's go to the book of Tobit, chapter 7 and verse 13.
Tobit, chapter 7, verse number 13, and it reads, Then he called his daughter Sarah, and she came to her father, and he took her by the hand, and gave her to be wife to Tobias, saying, Behold, take her after the law of Moses, and lead her away to thy father. And he blessed them.
Right, go on.
And he called Edna his wife, and she took paper and did write an instrument of covenants and sealed it.
And that's a wise thing to do, to have instruments of covenants. Now, in your instruments of covenant, it details what the inheritance is in your marriage, what the father may give the daughter, and every instrument of covenant was different, man. Right? Now, let's read on.
Verse number 15. Then they began to eat.
So the instruments of covenant, and as you read on, it details what Raguel would give Sarah. Like he would give him half of his goods now. He said he'll give him half when he died. Right? There are certain things that are detailed in the marriage. Now I'm gonna give you an example. Let's go to real quick Genesis 31. Right? Let's go to Genesis chapter 31. This is Genesis chapter 31, and we can start. Now this is conversations between Jacob and Laban. So I can bear with me. 44.
Genesis 31, verse 44.
Now, if you know this story, if it was done the right way and Laban wasn't oppressing Jacob, they would have wrote an instruments of covenant. And this is afterwards, right? Let's read on.
Genesis 31, verse 44. Now therefore come thou, let us make a covenant. I said, I am thou, and let it be for a witness between me and thee. And Jacob took a stone and set it up for a pillar. And Jacob said unto his brethren, Gather stones. And they took stones and made a heap. And they did eat there upon the heap.
Now, this is supposed to be like the time of Tobit, right? They made a covenant and they did eat. But the way that this situation played out, they really can't have the instruments of covenant. So they're trying to make things right now. They're trying to make it right now. Let's go on.
Verse number 47. And Laban called it Jegar-Shahadutha, and Jacob called it Gilead. And Laban said, This heap is a witness between me and thee this day. Therefore was the name of it called Gilead. And Mizpah, for he said, The Lord watch between me and thee when we are absent one from another.
Now these are things that may have been in the covenant, right? If it was done the right way. Go on.
Verse number 50. If thou shalt afflict my daughters.
The father would tell this to the son, this would be written. Because the marriage, he can annul the marriage and redeem it if these things were broken. If you afflict my daughters, go on.
Or if thou shalt take other wives beside my daughters.
The father might have said, look, you can only marry my daughter if you don't take another wife. And the son had to say, okay, I'll do it. Right? So these are stipulations within the instruments of covenant. Right? Go on. If thou take other wives, go on.
No man is with us. See, God is witness betwixt me and thee. And Laban said to Jacob, Behold this heap, and behold this pillar, which I have cast betwixt me and thee. This heap be witness, and this pillar be witness.
Right.
That I will not pass over this heap to thee, that thou shalt not pass over this heap and this pillar unto me for harm.
Right. So the point is, these are things that have went down in the marriage. Before the marriage was sealed, the father would detail what he would want and what he desired. Right? You may say, look, you want to marry my daughter. Hey, what did Saul tell David? What do you have to give? 100 foreskins of the Philistines. So it all depends on the father. Laban said you have to work for my daughter for a week, 7 years. You know? And if you want to take my daughter, you can't take other wives and you can't afflict them. If you do, then guess what? This contract is broken. So a marriage is a contract, and these are the stipulations of the marriage contract. But that's how it was done in the ancient world. Right now you got Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Shalom Aki, Toda, right? Brand Rising, Lakamika. Right, so I don't even know what, I never heard that one. But this is the age of the information, man. You know, but this is it was different in the ancient world.
All right, let's do it.
Next question comes from Baby Shot at 95.
Yeah.
Did Cain regenerate into Esau?
Then yes, Cain came back on the earth as Esau from Baby Shot 95. All right, Baby Shot 95.
That's right.
We got to get these Hebrew names going.
That's right.
All right, we got to get our Hebrew names going on, huh? All right, we can't be Jamal, right? We can't be Reese, Rel, Tony, Keisha, Latoya, Frankie. I don't want to meet a brother. He's 40. He said, "Call me Frankie." Brother, what's your Hebrew name, huh? You know. So let's go to the book of Genesis, chapter 4. Right, Genesis chapter 4 and verse. We can start at verse 13.
Genesis chapter 4, verse 13. And Cain said unto the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Verse number 14. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from the face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that every one that findeth me shall slay me.
So Cain said, after he murdered Abel, he said, I shall be a fugitive. What is a fugitive? On the run. From what? Person from the law, really from the law, right? A fugitive is somebody that's running away from justice, right? Like the brother said, from the law. Has Cain ever been reprimanded for murdering Abel? So how was Cain? Did Cain get away with it? No, so Cain's back on the earth. He's still that same fugitive, that same vagabond in the earth running away from justice. All right, let's go to Matthew 23. We're going to keep it short for sake of time. Let's go to Matthew chapter 23, and I want to read verse 35.
The book of Matthew chapter 23 and verse number
35.
Matthew chapter 23 and verse number 35. That upon you may come all the righteous bloodshed upon the earth.
The Lord said, in this generation is going to come all the righteous bloodshed upon the earth.
Reading on. From the blood of righteous Abel.
From the what?
From the blood of righteous Abel.
So Cain is going to get judged in this generation, right?
Unto the blood of Zachariah, son of Barachias, whom ye slew between the temple and the altar.
Read on.
Verily I say unto you, all these things shall come upon this generation.
Upon what generation?
This generation.
So this generation, whoever killed Abel, he's finally going to be judged. That's regeneration right there. Because, I mean, how else is Cain going to pay for it unless he's in this generation? As who? Esau. Now, Cain, the descendants of Cain, what scholars call the Cainites, when the flood happened, remember that bloodline was wiped off the earth. But it had to come back on the earth through Shem. So the bloodline of Cain came back from the earth through Shem, Abraham, and Isaac. And ultimately, out of Isaac came back that bloodline. That's why he came out red all over with that same mark that he had during the time of Cain, which was his melanin being stripped away. That's why Esau looks the way he looks. That's the same mark he had after he murdered Abel. So he's coming out living out that same judgment and that same fugitive spirit. But we can go deeper into that, but for sake of time, we're going to wrap up. With that, Shabbat Shalom.